In session 2 of chapter 3, we will have a look at the Make One procedure in detail with a complete flowchart. For ease of understanding, I have divided the complete process into a flowchart of the Make One procedure. The slide refers to the boxes in yellow on the left with the explanation in the larger box onto the right. Now, the first issue is that SHQ, Service Headquarter, will identify the potential projects in consultation with the industry. And in this case, extensive consultation is carried out with all stakeholders. Now, all the potential projects are deliberated upon, and an approval in principle is given by a collegiate. The collegiate comprised of the Secretary, Defence Production, and members from SHQ, Acquisition Wing, Department of Defence Production, DRDO, MOD Finance, oblique the IFA capitals. Point to note is that once the project has been accorded the approval in principle, it cannot be retracted just because the technology is being developed by DRDO, DPSUs, OFPs. So despite that, the parallel process will continue in the Make One procedure. Once the AIP is accorded, it is hosted on the MOD website and shared with the industry. Question is, contact points in detail to seek industry participation are put onto the MOD website. A project facilitation team may be set up at this earlier stage in complex cases to interact and oversee the complete project. Next step is the feasibility study. The project facilitation team of the SHQ will carry out the feasibility study with the involvement of other stakeholders, including the representation of the finance manager oblique the IFA capital. Industry associations like the FICCI, the CII, including or the SIDM, including MSME is consulted. Engagement of consultants, experts can also be carried out. Funding of all these is through the SHQ revenue budget. The estimation of emerging technologies, capability of the Indian industry to undertake the design and development of the particular platform, and the listing of the potential vendors to carry out the development is undertaken. Which make category should come in? Make 1, make 2, make 3, depending on the project, if that is ascertained. And what would be the time required for the purposes of development? What is the estimated cost of the prototype development? And as well as the cost for procurement under the relevant category. For make 1, it is buy Indian IDDM with 50% indigenous content. What are the numbers of development agencies to be selected? Normally, in a Make One project, the funding is restricted to 2 development agencies plus Ordnance Factory. Ordnance Factory is always without funding. It's only the private agency which get funding. As well as the 4 close criteria should the project not progress as per expected. I had earlier mentioned that in a make procedure, the provisional SQR is made and the categorization and EON is taken. Now let's have a look at it. The project facilitation team oblique SHQ consultation with the stakeholders will be carried out to formulate a provisional SQR. Now the provisional SQR has got essential parameters and desirable parameter. Note it is a provisional, it is not binding, it is for the prototype development. The SHQ prepares a statement of case and takes the EON. Ordnance factory participation, the DSC approval is required. No funding is given to the OFP participation in case OFP is required. The statement of case highlights the level of indigenous content. The design and development is indigenous. What is the minimum order quantity that shall be given? And what are the development timelines for the prototype? What is the cost for the prototype? What is the procurement cost of the larger order? The list of the likely DAs which have the capability to furnish the equipment, time frame for the procurement, and in case there are multiple technical solutions, and there is a division of quantity. This shall be ascertained. The foreclose criteria will be particularly specified, and it is only exercised after approval of AON authority. This is given in the project sanction order as to why the foreclose criteria is being exercised. Normally, it is due to time over and cost overruns, the failure of the prototype, and total expenditure made by the DA till foreclosure is assessed and the recovery oblique the balance is paid. It's only till the time that the foreclosure been done that much is paid. Let's have a look at the next three steps. First is the constitution of the project facilitation team in case it had not been done earlier when the AON was to be taken. The preparation of the project definition document by the project facilitation team, the issue of the expression of interest, as well as the format for the detailed project report by the SHQ and the shortlisting of the vendors. Now, the project facilitation team under a 1-star oblique a 2-star officer oblique a director level, with the representatives of SHQ, Department of Defense Production, DGQA, MOD Finance, IFA Capital, and additional expert is constituted. It acts as an interface between the SHQ and the industry and is a very important functionary towards development of the prototype. The project facilitation team shall prepare the project definition document in consultation with all the stakeholders. It is approved by the PSO, that is the Deputy Chief at the SHQ, and this becomes the guiding document for the detailed project report when it is required to be given. The expression of interest, I had said that in Make 1, the expression of interest replaces the RFI, request for information. It is more detailed than that. Approved by the PSO concerned and issued to the shortlisted vendors which had been identified. Details are hosted on the MOD and the SHQ website. Any additional vendor who wants to bid for it other than who have been issued within 4 weeks is eligible to bid for it, and it is issued with the EOI in case he is eligible. It's the same procedure that was for the buy and make. The vendors have a choice to either respond in individual capacity or as an association of parties, that is a consortium of companies. However, it will be led, this sort of consortium shall be led by the EOI recipient only, which is the lead agency. And the project facilitation team will assist the SHQ in the assessment of the EOI responses. Let's have a look at the DPR as well as the technical and financial gates. The DPR is issued to all vendors along with the expression of interest. And the DPR will clearly list the trial facilities provided free of cost, the number of times the free tests will be carried out, and the liability of any collateral damage. And the PSQR that provisional SQR will form part of the detailed project report. The response to the detailed project report is by the vendor. It is evaluated by the project facilitation team in consultation with the Department of Defense Production. And the shortlisting of the suitable DAs will be based on the evaluation of the EOI response, expression of response, to come as to a conclusion as to which are the suitable DAs. And the DPR based on the financial and technical gates shall be decided upon. The development agency is approved by the Secretary DP. Issue of RFP is by the acquisition wing for limited commercial offer for prototype development, as well as the commercial offer for procurement phases to selected DAs. Also, the selection of the DAs is done by the Defense Procurement Board. The commercial RFP for the prototype development, as well as separate for the production phase, is submitted in separate envelopes simultaneously to the DAs concerned. The production/procurement phase is always under Buy Indian IDDM in Make 1 process. Response of the vendors is based on the minimum order quantity as given in the acceptance of necessity. And in case the development is by the Association of Parties, AOP, the RFP is issued only to the lead partner and he undertakes to supply the required quantity with the life cycle support. The sealed commercial offer is opened by the SHQ acquisition wing along with the reps of the Department of Defense Production in presence of the vendor. So the commercial offer is entered before, whereas in the buy and buy make it was done only by the CNC. The weightage that are given over here for the selection of DAs are 30% weightage is given for the commercial offer for the prototype development, and 70% weightage is given for the commercial offer for the procurement phase. And the percentage shall be laid down and included in the statement of case fielded for the acceptance of necessity and known to the vendor concerned. The next step in the complete process of Make 1 is the approval of the competent financial authority, funding and issue of the project sanction order by the SHQ. Now, the final selection of the DAs, the approval is obtained by the Department of Defense Production. For where the prototype cost is up to 50 crore, it is done by the SHQ. Above 50 crore, it is by the Department of Defense, by the Defense Procurement Board. For the purpose of funding, the lowest prototype development cost which have been given by a particular DA will decide the scale for government funding. That means whichever is the lowest cost offered, that will be the scale at which it shall be given. The scale is very simple, 70%, not exceeding 250 crore. 30% will be borne by the DA. Cost variation of around 15% will be catered for other DAs in case their cost of development is extra. So that means around 15% leeway is allowed. Any changes in the cap of funding is carried out only if it has been included in the statement of case at the time of seeking EON. Otherwise, the cap that has been there shall be valid for all purposes. A separate account head shall be opened up, which is the make procedure prototype development account, and all spending will be done under this account head. For the purpose of payment of the cost of development of the prototype, the MOD will give an advance of 20% of the complete cost that has been laid down for the prototype development against a bank guarantee for the full amount. So 20% will be given against a bank guarantee of the full amount. Now, after 20%, the balance payment are based on the milestones that have been declared in the detailed project report. And within 60 days of achieving the milestones, which is extendable to 90 days, they are paid for. The advance will be gradually adjusted against the milestone payments, and the bank guarantee that was given by the developer shall proportionately be reduced till it is fully extinguished. Now, DA is obliged to maintain a book of account and an independent bank account for this purpose only, for the prototype development only, and full access to the MOD will be allowed to the bank account. Now, the ownership of all tangible assets and the developed prototype shall vest with the MOD. Now, it could be passed on to the development agency at depreciated value at the end of the complete case. In the case has been foreclosed, then the tangible assets are disposed of as per the government guidelines. In the next step, the design and development of the prototype is carried out by the developer in consultation with the project facilitating team. Once the complete prototype has been designed successfully, then the provisional SQR based on which it was created is converted to the SQR based on what it has been able to achieve. And thereafter, because there would be changes in the complete design that was originally planned for, a revised commercial offer is solicited by MOD acquisition. So the SHQ will issue a project sanction order to all selected DAs for development of prototype. And time overruns possibly would be there, and therefore approval of 25% of the timelines is by the SysComply, the Vice Chief's equivalent, and beyond that, it is with the Defense Procurement Board. Now, post-development of the prototype and its trial, the PSQR is converted to the SQR based on what is achieved and the acceptability of the SHQ. No changes can take place after the PSQR has been converted into the SQR. Revised commercial offer is solicited from the successful prototype developers by the acquisition wing. No changes in the minimum order quantity that had been laid down in the DPR is permitted, and it was accepted in the AON. An increase in revised commercial bid from that earlier submitted has to be justified by the selected DS. That means if they revise the bid, it may be because of a change in design. Therefore, this has to be justified. And the original commercial bid will be retained by the CNC for the purposes of benchmarking and taken cognizance of. The balance of those tests, that is the field evaluation trial, the staff evaluation, the CNC and the award of contract, is the same as was done in the previous process of buy and make. Now, field evaluation trials is totally as normal in all procurement cases. No changes involving any redesigning oblique technology upgrades are acceptable. In case there are any changes that are required, can only be carried out on follow-on models and not for the purpose of production at present time. Benchmark committee would simultaneously carry out the benchmarking with the staff evaluation of the trial report, similar to buy and make. This includes any changes in the commercial quotes that may have been given by the vendor, and the CNC will be carried out as per the normal procedure as we saw in chapter 2. We just had a look at the flow chart of the make one procedure. In the next session and the last session of chapter 3, we will have a look at the flow chart for make 2 and 3, which is basically a variation to this, as also do a deep dive into innovation scheme and the financial powers that are there. It's been great being with you all. Look forward to the last session in chapter 3 with you.